Welcome back, and you're still watching the Morning Breeze on NBS Television. Welcome aboard. In case you've just joined us, my name is Simon Kagwanjala, and well, in this edition of the topical discussion, we continue exploring the different dimensions to a story that's created a storm. Ugandans are up in arms over revelations that actually some of our girls are trafficked or are assigned to work abroad as migrant workers, but they end up being tortured, working long hours, and being underpaid. And under certain circumstances, there have also been certain cases of reported deaths. We want to ask ourselves, what really went wrong? There have been every intervention. The Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has come out to say that there is every effort to streamline this business. There is an association that is overseeing the recruitment and the export of labor abroad, while Parliament is also playing its oversight role on this. But as the saga deepens, we ask, what really went wrong that we need to fix as urgently as possible? Well, this morning I'm joined by Nambooze, the Executive Director for Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies, alongside Honorable Mwine Mpaka. Honorable Mpaka was among the MPs who traveled to the Arab Emirates to examine and ascertain the allegations of torture, sexual abuse, and murder that happens in the Arab countries. Welcome, dear guests.
Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you went on a fact-finding mission, and when you returned, you went silent. What did you discover that you didn't want to tell us?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to discuss this very serious topic. I am a member of the Gender Committee in Parliament, and we have, on several occasions, we have asked the Saudi Arabian government to go and visit our girls in Saudi Arabia. But about 4 times our committee has been denied. And I want to state it for a fact that Parliament under the Gender Committee has been denied on several occasions from going to Saudi Arabia. So at one point we went to Dubai with the Foreign Affairs Committee. We're about 8 members of Parliament. And we visited our embassy in Abu Dhabi. But what we found in Abu Dhabi was really very alarming. By then, the ambassador was Madivani. There was a lady called Madivani. And she gave us a report of 48 Ugandans who had died in just a period of 8 months. And of these 48 Ugandans, 35 had committed suicide. And she further told us that some were actually buried in the desert because they did not know who had brought them. I think those had been trafficked, but some had been brought back home to Uganda. But we also discovered that even our embassy in Abu Dhabi does not have the capacity to handle these situations. One, we do not have a rescue home. These girls go to the veranda of the embassy to seek for help from the officials in the embassy. There is no money, there is no budget for these girls within the embassy to handle these situations. And exporting labor to countries where we don't have bilateral agreements. When these Ugandans are found committing an offense or are found in any situation, they find themselves under the labor laws in those countries. So, for example, if a Ugandan is accused of stealing, if the labor law in that country states this and that, that is what is going to be used. So we discourage, and actually, as members of Parliament of the Uganda Parliamentary Forum, we are coming up with a motion to ban export of labor to any country that does not have a bilateral agreement. 2, we want government to also ban exportation of labor to all countries without embassies and well-equipped embassies to manage these situations. But in the long run, I think what is happening now, what you're seeing on TV, domestic workers, exportation of domestic workers. And as a country, we cannot do without labor export. This is a fact. because of the high population, because of the levels of unemployment. But specific sectors like domestic workers are the ones causing a lot of challenges. And this is why we have a lot of media attention currently. Because one, a domestic worker, for example, when we went to Dubai, when you give a girl to someone to work in his or her own house, you cannot access this girl after 3 months. This girl becomes...
Till after 3 months?
After 3 months, this girl becomes property of that person because they will not allow you to enter. These girls do not have access to banks. They do not have access to mobile phones. They do not have access to health care at times. So I think the discussion now should be, should we risk the whole industry because of one sector, which is domestic work? We have seen countries like Nepal in 2014 banning totally the exportation of domestic work. We have seen countries like Philippines that has now banned domestic work to Kuwait just because one Ugandan, one Filipino was sexually abused and murdered. Just one. But we have seen cases in Uganda, so many are coming, but we're doing nothing about it.
Okay. Enid,
yes.
Do you think these are false alarms? Is the situation really overhyped that it is actually creating this kind of impression that all is bad?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And Honorable, I'm very pleased to meet you here. A situation may appear hyped. However, as a rights advocate, I would like to say that we should not leave any stone unturned for the reasons that he's also given. Our domestic workers need assistance and they need to be well looked after. When we talk about safety in the workplace, it also goes beyond into the household. And as he has said, getting into a household is quite a challenge if you want to look into issues of protection. But maybe just to say something that he's not raised, that as a result of your visit to UAE, with Uganda signed, an MOU 2 weeks ago. I think you're aware of that. And that will be the beginning of a very, very good struggle to create safety for the Ugandans already there, to get amnesty, but also these issues he's raised, issues of payment, issues of safety, all those things now are going to be well regulated with the UAE. So when one person comes out to complain, as a rights advocate, it is right that we talk about it. We have more than 150,000 Ugandans in the Middle East, as it were. But if one Ugandan suffers, then the whole of Uganda has suffered. And I would really like to thank all the MPs that have come out strongly on this issue.
Well,
yes.
Doreen's case is quite alarming and very damning in a sense. As labor exporters,
yes.
How do you feel about it? Where are the truths and falsehoods?
Okay, we are very concerned when someone like Doreen comes out with an issue. And as I was explained yesterday, we have a procedure. We have a reception center, and the team that is in the reception center works with the anti-trafficking police to receive the person at the airport. So that, as you know, issues of evidence, the evidence has to be received and managed as it arrives. And that young lady was met. We hope that when the anti-trafficking police is done with its investigations, we'll get to know what exactly happened.
Do you agree Doreen was tortured?
No, I don't, because we have not received the report of the investigators.
But okay. Doreen is not the first case that you're receiving.
True.
What have the other cases revealed?
We have had cases which have revealed that there were issues of denial of salary. People have come back without salary, and we pursued them with the Ministry of Gender, and people have been paid. We have people who have been denied food, people who have worked long hours. Those are things that have actually happened. So when you define mistreatment, that is how we are looking at it.
Are cases of sexual abuse, deprivation, and torture real?
I don't want to use the word torture unless you define it very well within the ambit of the work that we're actually talking about. But the issues of deprivation are true.
Beating?
Yes, we've had cases of beating as well. And the embassy in Saudi Arabia especially has been able to manage those cases, because once someone leaves the country where a crime has been committed, it becomes a challenge. It now becomes an issue of Uganda versus that country and has to be dealt with in diplomatic terms. And that is why we encourage the young women in Saudi, for example, make sure you get to the embassy so the embassy can handle those issues accordingly. He's mentioned the embassy in Abu Dhabi, and in the Middle East, those are the embassies we happen to have. But we are aware that government is looking at setting up in Oman, in Kuwait, and all those other countries.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you deny that cases of abuse are rampant, especially towards domestic workers, are rampant in UAE, especially Jordan?
I think we'd like to be very specific about these countries. It's like when Americans say Africa. Because when you say UAE, UAE is not Jordan. United Arab Emirates is a different area. Jordan is different. Saudi Arabia is different.
Yes, yes.
So I would like us to be very clear.
Oh, yes.
Okay? Because everybody says UAE and your headline is saying UAE, but I would like to say, just say Middle East. And then we can
Middle
go
East, yes.
in those countries. Those countries, it is indeed alarming for us that people who are working in the domestic space, the private space, their rights are being violated. That one I agree. But I can't say that 100% the rights are being violated, but there are instances of those cases of rights being violated.
Who takes the spotlight for neglecting our workers who travel all the way, expecting a better life the other side?
Yeah. Well, according to the laws of Uganda, we take the spotlight.
The exporters?
The externalizers, because we sign contracts with the companies the other side, and the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, for example, has signed a bilateral with the Jordanian kingdom as well as the Saudi Arabian kingdom. Us, the externalizers and the receivers the other side, take equal responsibility, as well as the governments that have given us those licenses to work.
Why did it take so long for you to come out to raise an alarm that, these evils are happening until Honorable Betty Nambooze came up?
Actually not. We've been talking to the press all the time. In fact, if you look at this document, we've had this document done and prepared. Tips for people traveling abroad. We are on about 90% of the radios giving tips to workers. Our PRO is not sleeping. People are calling and saying, tell us about the right procedure of travel. Tell us about the companies that we should go to. But you'll be surprised. Since 2017, when our secretariat was set up, people still go to companies that are not registered. My worry is, what is it that we are doing that does not attract the ordinary Ugandan for them to feel that they are safer with a trafficker? The Ministry of Gender, as we speak now, has licensed 151 companies in order to regularize the business and to ensure that as many companies are available to Ugandans who want to travel abroad. But I can assure you, I get WhatsApps and people are saying, this company took me, I'm in place A, and a company does not exist. They tell you it is on Mabirizi Plaza, it is on Blue Room, downtown. Like, there are so many other players in this field that Ugandans feel have access.
What gaps should we be looking at when we're referring to Doreen's case?
One, I think it's not only traffickers taking the girls out who are suffering. Even some companies actually are bringing back some girls who have died. So it's not about trafficking or which company.
Externalizing.
No,
She's uncomfortable calling it exporting.
Probably. But you see, for us as members of parliament, we are stuck between the poverty wages here at home and the extreme exploitation abroad. But what I think with Doreen's case, I think it's high time we consider a total ban of domestic workers.
Wouldn't that be rational, given the kind of revenue that the country wrecks?
Yes, the country is making revenue. For example, we are getting about $300 million every year. But at what cost? Because this alone, this sector, domestic workers, could affect the whole labor export industry. For example, we're talking about labor export today because of domestic workers, because of the girls suffering there in the Middle East. But you are aware we have signed only 2 bilateral agreements. According to me, these are the agreements I know, Jordan and Saudi Arabia. But we are still exporting to countries that do not have these agreements. When you look at the ministry, when we lifted the ban, they created a system called Mosand. This system is supposed to monitor the girls abroad, to where they have gone, where the company has deployed them. But this system crashed, I think it was between December and February. December last year and February this year. So we actually do not know officially how many girls left the country during that time. So there are so many gaps, but the ministry licensed 19 pre-departure firms to help these young girls. But still, if someone has already paid money to a company, and this company has already given this person a visa and everything to leave the country, even if you go through a pre-departure, I don't think they can block you if they find a fault. For example, I don't think they're going to teach you different languages in 1 week. I don't think they're going to teach you how to behave in 1 week. I don't think so. Actually, we would be blaming the labor export industry firms, yet the pre-departure firms are the main problem. But personally, I think it's high time we consider total ban of domestic work abroad.
Do you have tabs on the number of Ugandans, especially domestic workers, in the countries where you are assigned?
Before I answer that, I would like to say something about the total ban that Honorable is labeling to propose. In 2016, there was a ban to Saudi Arabia in particular. And during that time, more Ugandan girls left to work. So when you're talking about safety, it's better to have a bad law than no law at all. You need to have a system within which to start a process. Because if you ban now, for example, and you have maybe 100 girls in all the countries that they are existing in, you're leaving them in limbo. You need to be on board, you need to have your law, you need to work with it.
So let's continue experimenting on our girls until that time when things are better.
It's not even about experimenting, but all laws work like that. International Labour Organization has had laws since the 2000s to date about making the lives of workers better, not so empty.
Yes, but not all countries you're exporting labor to are members of this.
Indeed. But what I'm saying is when you propose a total ban, then you're leaving the ones who are already there with no protection. I would like you to consider that as well. As a rights person, as an MP, you should stand for everyone who is there and intending to go, so that whatever you propose is fair and proportionate. That is my plea to you, Honorable. Fair and proportionate. Make sure that you are protecting at all levels. The government that you serve, the people that you serve need your protection, Honorable. Put money in those embassies like you talked about. Put money in the civil service to be able to employ labor liaisons to go, because the regulations actually do talk about labor liaisons.
Before I even ask you another question, I want to invite our viewers to be part of the discussion. You can join us on our social media platforms. The hashtag is NBS Morning Breeze. But if you want to get us on Twitter, it's at NBS TV. You can get us also on Facebook. Be part of the discussion. We are asking what went wrong with labor export in Uganda, that today we are getting all sorts of sad stories, horrific stories of torture and abuse, especially of domestic workers. Enid,
yes, please.
How many companies do we have in the country that are registered and doing legit business?
151 companies have been registered by the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. And let me explain this. When a company is registered, it means, one, it is recognized under URSBS as a company that has the right to do business. Then on top of that, it must have a license from the ministry to do externalization of labor. Most of the young people that have approached us tell us the company is registered. I saw the registration chart, and yet it's a company registered only to do business. So the ones that actually even have a license number, like I was saying here, they must also have, they will also appear on the ministry's website. Maybe I can show this again. They will appear on the ministry's website, as if you go there now, you know which companies are registered. And I appeal to all the young people, please check the ministry's website, because most young people have a smartphone, 500 MBs, they will check. Secondly, those companies are tracked by government. because of a number of things that they go through before they are actually licensed to do the business. Yes.
What do you make of the claim that most of the big labor externalizing companies are owned by a cartel of the untouchables, that it's very hard to even go deeper in investigating them?
I keep hearing that allegations of the untouchables. I have met 151 directors out of the 300, if I may say, and I have not met an untouchable. Maybe I don't understand the definition, but for me, they were all touchables.
Maybe I can give you an example.
Yes, you could come in.
Maybe, most likely, because even some members of parliament have companies. But that doesn't mean there's a law that stops a member of parliament from owning one. But I will give a specific example, like a company known as Dubai Explorer. In 2017, Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Youth Affairs, we moved and closed this company because it had taken 2 boys abroad and dumped them in a hotel using tourist visas. That was in Dubai. So we went and closed this company. Unfortunately, we discovered that it actually did not have a license to export abroad labor. But after closing this company, within a period of 2 weeks, the company was reopened. The company belongs to a major cattle, is a soldier. So within a period of 3 weeks, he had now an official license. And we wrote to the ministry, we had copies of messages, we had everything, and up to now they keep claiming they are still investigating. So it's probably true there's political interference somewhere. Because even if you were to bring a motion, for example, to Parliament, I don't think it would be that easy for this motion.
So is it that complex? Is the evil in the labor export industry that complex for you to uproot?
I don't think there's a lot of evil in labor export, because the country is benefiting, our young boys and girls are benefiting, but specifically domestic workers. Because
and the biggest focus is there.
Domestic work, because actually that's where the most money is. In the domestic workers. That is where the challenge is. But labor export, we cannot do without labor export. This is a fact. And there's no country, I think, in the world that is not exporting labor. But when it comes to domestic workers, the challenges are far beyond even our ministry.
What, in your opinion, has enabled these fake companies to thrive?
One, I think also corruption, because during our investigation, we discovered at the airport, these people who are smuggled, or even at the border, pay $100 to immigration officers. So I think it is corruption. I think also, because no one is going to just come up and export. The people who open these illegal companies used to work for those legitimate companies. They know the system, because you're not going to wake up and get a contract to take people abroad. Even the companies we have in Uganda here, most of them are subcontracted by companies in Kenya to take people abroad. So it's not easy to get a direct connection. So most of these people doing this illegal business are known actually by these companies, because they break off from these companies. Do
you agree there are bad apples in your business of labor externalization?
Certainly. I don't think there's any business that
and what would it take to uproot them?
I think it takes a concerted effort, and that's why I really applaud our MPs for taking this on very strongly, because you need the entire society to be part of it. The fourth estate, such as yourselves, are doing a wonderful job and would like you to keep doing this job. The ordinary citizen, by the tips that we are giving them, make sure you're externalized by a company that is registered, gives you a receipt, because some people come and say, I paid this amount of money, and they do not even have a receipt. We thank Ministry of Internal Affairs for their anti-trafficking team, and we also thank our ministry, of course, for making sure we are licensed to work.
Do you withhold workers' passports?
No, we don't.
No, but it's a very popular allegation. You need to substantiate on this. Do you withhold their passports?
We don't withhold their passports, but we use their passports in order to be able to get their documentation. I will give an illustration. For domestic workers, many do not come with a travel document. The travel document is processed by the company that is taking them abroad and used to get the visas thereafter.
Other than doing paperwork, what else do you do? Because you just process, get them on the plane.
But in Dubai, the passports are held by the employers.
We have had those allegations, and after the MOU that was signed 2 weeks ago, that is one of the things that the two ministries agreed will have to stop.
So it's been happening. It's happening.
Abroad, not here. So I cannot answer and say that is happening here.
No, you were agents of the other employers abroad.
Yes.
So the employers the other side who contract you, the contractors withhold passports.
What we've been made to understand is for those that live in a shared accommodation, all their documents are kept in one place. Those who use shared accommodation, because they don't have safety of their documents, and that they have access to them at any time. That's what we've been informed.
When it comes,
what did you discover?
When it comes to the issue of passports, even in Dubai as we speak, the person who is employing the girl will keep the passport. It is like security. So actually, even if the girl wants to leave, she cannot go because she knows they have something on her.
Okay, given the loopholes in the industry, do you think the externalizers are promoting modern day slavery in the way they're doing things?
Well, like I said, we have a challenge. We are faced with a challenge between the high poverty wages in Uganda and extreme exploitation abroad. So we are now in between as members of parliament. But specifically, when it comes to wages, you cannot say labor export companies are exporting slavery, because we have some success stories. We have, and there are quite so many that are not talked about. But we also have some very unfortunate stories, like we have seen in the media, like yesterday with the Enid story. So the main thing now is how do we protect our Ugandans?
When you follow the Enid story, yesterday's story, the
Doreen
story, what questions does it beg?
Well, the Doreen story, there are two versions. Really, right now you cannot know what is what, because some people are saying it's not true, some people are saying it is true. But all in all, it is easy to believe, given the situation of domestic workers in these countries. One, you'll enter someone's home, you will work extra hours, probably the whole day and at times even the whole night. After a certain period, no one will be able to enter that gate. And you know, these Arabs have very long fences. No one will be able to see how you are, what conditions you are in. Even if
you're confined.
You are confined. Even if the ministry says they are giving you a mobile phone, these people will take this phone away from you. These people have your passport. At times when you say you are not feeling okay, they will deny you a chance to get medical help, because they are not sure. You may be trying to escape, or you may be trying to leak something. So the conditions within the domestic work are really not favorable. Even beyond our ministry. I've given an example of Philippines and Nepal. It's not only Uganda facing this challenge of domestic workers. So I think it's even far beyond our ministry.
Outside merely licensing and doing acquisitions and helping to do brokerage, have you interested yourselves in the conditions of the homes where these domestic workers work?
Yes, we have. We have had various members of the association traveling to different countries. Myself, I've been to Jordan and I've also been to UAE, but other members have been to Saudi Arabia as well. And we also have people who've been to the Philippines to try and see how we can learn from them. Like he has mentioned, Philippines is the longest.
When you got there, what did you see? Okay,
first of all, the households were able to have access to were of different sizes and different, what shall I say, social status. So there are those households which you found had like 3 domestic workers, maybe an African, an Asian, and maybe a Filipino. And then there are those which we entered which had just 1 African or 1 Ugandan or a Kenyan or
and these were never impromptu visits? They were arranged visits?
No, they were not. They were impromptu because we just asked to visit. and we went and visited. In one home, I actually met a Ugandan who was on her way back because she'd not been able to work. I was able to talk to her. I talked to the company that had externalized her, and we spoke to the family. They actually didn't know that I was coming from Uganda because I went with our counterparts in Jordan. And I was able to understand she'd not been able to cope up with her work. So one of the things that is a challenge for our young people is the inability to work those hours. And physically, they've been challenged by the weather. Either it's extremely hot or it's extremely cold. Some have also been affected by the food. They've not been able to handle the severe starches and lack of all these other kind of
Are you
food that
trying
they're
to
used
keep away from the brutality of the bosses, the employers?
No, we are actually, for example, in Jordan, we have an arrangement with the association there that these are our expectations, that the young people should not be beaten. They should not be, if any employer feels that they are unable to work with this person, they bring them back to the office. And most of the offices have what we call accommodation. In that accommodation, the young people are brought back, they are cancelled, and if they are unable to work, they are brought back home. So when you hear of some people saying we are in this building, we are in detention, we are in a prison, they're actually either in accommodation belonging to the company, or they're accommodation belonging to immigration, or accommodation belonging to the police, depending on the situation within which they left the house.
Are the alarms, before we take a break, are the alarms about torture and sexual abuse real, fake, or hyped?
Depending on the situation, I could take all the words you've given.
The alarms are real.
They are real alarms.
Our girls are being sexually molested.
And some are fake, and some are hyped. That's why I say that I can take all the words. I would prefer, like we do it all.
When have you discovered that this alarm is fake, for instance?
I had a case of a young person whose family came to our office and claimed that she was dead, and that they had a witness that showed that she was dead. That witness had just traveled back from Jordan like a week before the alarm was made. They were in my office on a Tuesday. We interviewed the person who gave us that story. She claimed that the young woman had been hit behind the head and she had seen her drop dead. So I asked her, were you in the same room? She said, yes, I was in the same room and I saw her being killed. But I have a number of her parents, and that's why I informed them. So I was like, how did you get her number before she died? Well, the story went on, but by the end of the day, we had pictures from that office, the accommodation where they were, and within 3 days that young woman was back. She was met by the anti-trafficking police in Entebbe because what she was alleging falls squarely in the Anti-Trafficking Act. Anti-trafficking police met her at the airport, tried to interview her, and she said she had no problem, she had no issue to explain. She came to my office. Unfortunately, I wasn't wise enough to bring media. I asked her, you were reported dead. She was perfectly okay. That case broke our hearts because the way the family came in making alarms, the whole building came to the office because we knew someone had died and there was a witness who had seen her die. By the end of the day, the young woman was apologizing to the family because they were with us, the mother, the sisters, the father had stayed at home, ready to receive the dead young woman. It broke our hearts because we did everything to make sure that we find out what had happened.
In a sense, is it possible to salvage the bad image that's been painted about labor externalization?
Yes, it's salvageable. Because what you're doing right now is salvaging the bad image. I have Honorable Mpaka here who's telling you what is happening. You have me. Yesterday you had a very honorable. As long as that happens, we are salvaging the image.
I'm doing PR. Let's take a break.
Definitely. Thank you so much.